Greetings, folks, and welcome. And I'm happy to be back after several weeks of dealing with illnesses of one sort or another. And so it's great to be back. And today I want to remind you, there's being very little said about it really, that we do have an election coming up. And unfortunately, the election here in Tullahoma is the only one in the whole county. Nobody else is having an election, so we have our own little short term. And that is on for two candidates to the Tullahoma Board of Mayor and Alderman. Jimmy Blanks and Sandy Lindeman are both standing for re-election. They have finished a term and would like to come back again. And we have three candidates, however, for two seats, so we do have a challenger. And that is Mr. Ray Knowis, and Ray is here with us. We're going to find out a great deal more about him, hopefully, in the next few minutes. And the election, I remind you, is Thursday, August 6th. Early voting is going on. The only place you can vote early is at CD Stamps. So you need to get down there between 9 and 4:30 during the week and 9 and 12 on Saturday. And on election day itself, all the polls will be open, I'm told. And in addition, I need to remind you that even though it's taken on a lot of criticism, the law is that you need to show up at the polls with a photo ID. So be sure you do that. And with that, we want to take a short break, and we'll come back and find out what's cooking with the election.
You made the time and the sacrifice to broaden their horizons, to see their smiles, but mostly to make lifelong memories. We think it's time to do it again, just the two of you. Don't let illness or injury slow you down. The rehab team at Life Care Center of Tullahoma is ready to help you live well.
Let the Smokehouse be your mountain getaway destination in beautiful Monteagle, Tennessee. Enjoy our cabins, restaurant, and old general store. Shop thesmokehouse.com, featuring homemade barbecue sauces, jellies, and many other fine Tennessee products. Our live Music on the Mountain series features some of the best local and Nashville talent every Friday and Saturday night, 6:30 p.m. No cover, kids welcome.
We're back, folks, and our subject today is the Tullahoma City election for the Board of Mayor and Alderman. I have worked, as I mentioned, there are three candidates for two positions. I have worked fairly diligently to try to get all three candidates on here at the same time so that you could look at them side by side. For one reason or other, two of them are not able to be here. It turns out, though, that Jimmy Blanks and Sandy Lindeman are both pretty well known. They've been in their positions and similar positions for some time. So they won't be here, but that gives us a chance to focus a little bit on the challenger. And as I say, that's Ray Knowis. And Ray, thanks very much for being with us. And we'll look forward to finding out what your interest in the city is. And let's just begin by saying, spread out, why are you doing this? Why are you running?
Why am I running for candidate for the Alderman position in Tullahoma? Well, I think I have some business background that the board could use. I have an aerospace engineering management background, worked with Microcraft for 31 years helping grow that company. Along with a number of other great people to work with, we grew that company from a 25-man machine shop to a company of over 700 employees in 11 divisions around the country that was nationally recognized.
I was amazed to hear that information, because that company is very quiet. You don't hear anything out of them. So, okay, well, go ahead then, and let's talk some more about your education background, your qualifications, if you will, for the position that you're looking for.
Tom, thank you. Let me start with saying I grew up on a farm down in Lawrence County. Realized at a fairly early age that I didn't want to make a career out of that, so I began preparing myself for a professional career. However, after 1 year at the University of Tennessee, I didn't perform quite as well as my parents had hoped that I would, and chose not to make a further investment in that. And I worked at a manufacturing environment. I worked in a manufacturing environment on an assembly line for 5 years, second shift, by the way. So I know a little bit about that piece of the world as well. But anyway, I continued to work night shift, going to school, and I could getting a degree from Chicago Technical College for machine design, going back to Motlow, getting a master or associate degree there, and then had the good fortune of having an opportunity to go to Vanderbilt on a full tuition scholarship, which I'm very thankful for, and getting a degree there in engineering. Coming back to Microcraft, I continued to grow with the company as the company grew, and subsequently went back to the university. I had to prove something, I suppose, but I went back to the university for a master's degree in engineering management there. So my work experience, along with my academic background, I think very well prepares me to work with our board to try to grow our community.
All right. Well, growing our community, that's going to be one of our subjects. What as a general proposition, what do you think of Tullahoma's health? Are we very healthy, or mostly healthy, or unhealthy, or what?
Let me say this, that in the last 20 years, Tullahoma's population has remained very stagnant. We're still stuck at 18,000 people. We bring in a small job, we lose a small job. Bring in a larger job, we lose a larger company. So we seem to be in a stagnant position in our community. We've got to do something with our economic development program to change that paradigm. We've got to bring in some more jobs. If we bring in more jobs, retail will follow those jobs. But right now, we're not doing the job that we need to do with all the resources that we have to create economic development in our community. So that's the thing that I bring that maybe some of the other candidates have not had the opportunity to have the experience with growing companies that I have. Since I retired from Microcraft, I've started my own business. And in that business, I try to help other companies grow. And that's been a really neat experience to see entrepreneurs start new businesses. So we've got a lot of smart people in Tullahoma, people that could certainly start a new business and make it a very healthy business if we can just get them to take that leap of faith that they could do it. The things that Charlie Folk did at Microcraft back in 1958. And that's what I would like to see happen in Tullahoma, and I'm committed to helping that happen.
Okay. Well, that was one of my focus questions, whether you really would like to see Tullahoma grow. And do you have any thoughts about how fast, or along what lines, or how big, or anything of the sort?
Yes, Tom, I've always...
What kind of a community are we looking for, in other words?
Tom, I've always had a philosophy about growing or not growing. My philosophy is that you're either growing or you're dying. And unfortunately, we've not been growing. But the type of community that we have currently, we have focused on aerospace, being an aerospace community. And that's been great. We've got some great aerospace related companies in Tullahoma today. We've got Jacobs Engineering, we've got what was Goodrich that's now United Technologies, we've got Microcraft, we've got Lowly, we've got those companies that are really strengths in our community. We've got the University of Tennessee Space Institute, which really distinguishes us as an aerospace community. Many of those jobs require master's degrees, PhDs, etc. We could certainly think about attracting some companies that come here with manufacturing jobs. Communities around us are bringing in automotive-related jobs. Fayetteville does it, Shelbyville has done it, big time, Manchester has done it. People could use some good, solid manufacturing jobs in the community. So we don't have to have an aerospace company to be productive in this community. So let's attract jobs for people that can go out and buy some of these fast food places, some services from the fast food industries that we have here. So how fast would I like to see that happen? I'm a realist, Tom. I know that we can't do that overnight. It takes long-term planning. It takes a lot of cooperation. It takes working with groups, working together. So I'm committed to making that happen through cooperation.
All right. Well, you mentioned one thing I think that brings up a word of caution, and that is the fact that we have agreed not to, well, we have our own economic development corporation now, but as a part of that, we've agreed not to compete with the county, especially for manufacturing jobs. And so that's a joint endeavor that we need to work carefully with. If we want to, if we wanted to go in service industries, which are really some of the fastest growing in the country and have been for several years, and we can do that without being in any competition with the Coffee County Industrial Development Board. So, all right. Well, you mentioned the fact that we can grow in particular areas, building on the strengths that we already have. I'm wondering what your reaction is. The Economic Development Corporation, when it was set up, was organized, or not organized, but it was organized for the purpose of looking at industries, particularly in the health field, aviation related, and now we have our new piece of ground out at the airport that's going to be available. And of course, aviation and aerospace. So, and all of those really tend to be pretty highly technical organizations and with good paying jobs. So I'm wondering, you've mentioned the aerospace, whether your thing, and you mentioned the auto industry growth. So there's the open question there of which one of those three, or all three of them, and how much do we want to try to encourage development in those areas. Those three: health, aviation, and well, space and technology. So, you have any particular thoughts along any of those lines, or any that you think we're maybe in a better position to compete in?
Well, certainly we have the resources, the human resources here in Tullahoma to provide manpower that's needed to support any of those endeavors.
Right.
But as you've indicated, we have focused on the aerospace community. However, we have to recognize that the aerospace industry is a shrinking industry today. There's been so much consolidation within the aerospace community that there are some major players out there, and you don't have all the small companies out there that are going out and providing jobs, but it's the big guys. It's United Technologies, it's the Boeings. United Technologies, as you know, have acquired their Goodrich company here. And Boeing has acquired McDonnell Douglas and Rockwell, and all of those are being consolidated. So when we're looking at the aerospace industry, we have to recognize that we're a small fish in a large pond, and sometimes that doesn't work too well. As far as the healthcare community, we are recognized as being a healthcare center in southern Middle Tennessee, and we've done a good job of attracting very top-notch doctors to come to this community. However, those don't provide a lot of jobs. We're not providing jobs that we need to. I've suggested that we might look at the automotive industry as a model. That's used in other cities to bring some jobs to this town so we can go out and buy a hamburger when we need to. So when you say, which one of those would you focus on? Tom, I'm an opportunist. When I see an opportunity out there, I want to go get it. Make sure it fits, but let's don't exclude anything that would be a benefit to our community.
Sure. Okay. Is this an area that you would anticipate concentrating on? I'll ask the question and then we'll take a break. Any of these areas you'd like to see us concentrating on in the foreseeable future? And with that, folks, we need to take a commercial break and we'll come back and pick up.
Hello, my name is Ray Knowis. I'm a candidate for Alderman in the August 6th election. I'm a 49-year resident of Tullahoma and understand the needs of our city. I have an aerospace business background and worked for Microcraft for 31 years, helping grow that company from a 25-man regional machine shop to a nationally recognized company with over 700 employees. After retiring from Microcraft, I started my own consulting business and have been very active in civic and service organizations, including Rotary, in which I served as district governor for the eastern half of the state. As your alderman, I'll strive to bring new industry and retail business to our city. I'll be accessible and responsive. I'll listen to your concerns and I'll help you find solutions to your problems. I'd be honored to have your vote and serve as your alderman. Thank you.
You made the time and the sacrifice to broaden their horizons, to see their smiles, but mostly to make lifelong memories. We think it's time to do it again, just the two of you. Don't let illness or injury slow you down. The rehab team at Life Care Center of Tullahoma is ready to help you live well.
I'm meteorologist Leland Statham from the News Channel 5 Weather Center. Look to Jim Fuller and crew for local news night here on Channel 6.
We're back, folks, and we're talking today with Ray Knowis, who is a candidate for the Tullahoma Board of Mayor and Alderman. And I should have mentioned a little earlier that you've just seen a commercial by Ray, and he bought commercials from P-Head, and of course is entitled to have those seen. It does not necessarily, don't take that as meaning that we're sponsoring Mr. Knowis. So with that, we were talking a little bit about what areas we should be concentrating on from an industrial development, economic development standpoint. And you have mentioned manufacturing and the automobile business, and to some extent the aviation, health. As you say, we've got a very strong, well-recognized health community, and we brought in a lot of doctors. I'm not sure what we could do to bring folks in to support all them, the health care that we got going on, the health community. So any more thoughts you want to put on that?
Well, I think that we need to work with our TAEDC folks, our Tullahoma Industrial Board, to ensure that we're not leaving any stone unturned to bring in new jobs to our community. That's what we've got to do for economic development. I might mention the fact that we have some fairly high taxes in our community because we don't have the breadth of our tax base that I'd like to see. If we could spread that tax base across a broader group of people, I think it would provide some relief to our residences. We have a $2.60 tax rate in Tullahoma on residences. We have a $2.85 tax rate in the county. If you combine those, it turns out we're the second highest in the state. Only Memphis and Shelby County have a higher tax rate. So there are 93 other counties that have figured out a way to manage their communities at a lesser tax rate than we have on property taxes in Tullahoma.
And I've noticed Coffee County is thinking seriously about trying to have another tax to pay for some of the things that we've committed to, like the new jail system, for example.
And let me comment a little bit further on that. It's a unstable situation when you have a high tax rate like that, because it makes it very difficult to attract a new industry to come in when they can go next door to a neighboring county and have a lower tax rate. So we're handicapped with what we've already got with a high tax rate. So we've got to cap it. We've got to keep it from going any higher. We've got to do what we can to spread it across a broader base, and in the long run, lower that tax rate.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about another subject that really is related, and that is transport. And as I mentioned, if you're standing on the corner of Lincoln and Jackson in Tullahoma, you're kind of overwhelmed by the traffic and the noise that's generated out of a whole bunch of 18-wheelers. So we've got one of the national roads and one of the state roads, both running down Jackson for a couple of miles. I don't see anything being addressed, and I'm not sure anybody's really concerned about that. You don't hear anything about it.
Tom, let me say that you're not hearing anything about it because maybe you've not been out knocking on doors like I have for the last 2 months. But in my going around meeting the voters in this community, there's been a couple of things that have stood out. One's the traffic on Jackson Street, Cedar Lane. They want something done about that, and they want no more property taxes. If you knock on 10 doors and you get responses, you're going to get 7 of those responses are going to be those 2 topics. Talking about Jackson Street and the traffic there, it's probably one of the most controversial issues that I've faced. What do we do about it? Well, only with the help of TDOT can we do anything about it. We've had proposals in the past to have a bypass around the corridor around Tullahoma. It's been met with mixed emotions, been mixed with mixed reviews. So I've found that to be one of the very strong topics of controversy that could go on. Okay. But I think if we don't do something
out on that subject,
if we don't do something about it, I don't think it'll get better on its own. So I think it requires some cooperation with a lot of people that have influence in getting that bypass, if you will, to do something about getting all the trailer trucks off Jackson Street.
Okay. Well, it seems that we, I don't know how you go about that. On 2 different occasions, as soon as you mentioned some sort of bypass or cart or whatever, you immediately stir up a lot of opposition from the property owners that might be affected by that. And we have so far never shown the inclination or the courage, if you will, to take on that as a fight. It ain't going to be easy.
Well, I don't have an agenda coming to this board. I don't have allegiances to any group or any individuals. So I'm pretty independent in my thinking about this, and I'm committed to do what's best for the most people in Tullahoma. Be assured of that.
Okay. How about our railroad situation? Is there anything we ought to be thinking about there? I know we got a whopping amount of traffic, and we also are obviously a significant siding, because we've always got a train waiting, and one to come through in the other direction, and that's almost a constant affair. And we keep hearing every now and then about a derailment somewhere in a community, especially one that's having tank cars of one variety or another, and the damage done to the community. And I'm not sure what the status of our preparation is to be ready for that sort of thing, and whether we ought to be working on it. The railroad industry is a very powerful national organization, so it will take a concerted effort of every town county and city and the country, I think, to make any kind of impact to that.
Let me say that I'm not naive to think that I could solve that problem in the next 2 weeks after I'm elected. But let me assure you that it's something that will not be off my radar, because I live on one side of the town and regularly have to cross to the other side of the town. And because of that, I always use the North Washington Street underpass. So, and that's becoming a congested area there as well, because many people are doing that very same thing. And if you try doing that at 8 o'clock in the morning, you're going to have a bit of a wait, and people are impatient. So I'll certainly keep that on the radar.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anything in the arts and recreation area that we just guess what, folks? We've run out of time. We're going to have to take a short commercial break and wrap up.
The Kia Summers on Us sales event is going on right now at Russell Barnett Kia of Tullahoma. Let me tell you about this event. Purchase a new Kia Sedona, Kia Optima, Kia Forte, and receive 0% financing up to 66 months and your first 3 payments for free. For a limited time only, no strings attached. With America's best warranty, the 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty, Kia is the power to surprise. The Kia Summers on Us sales event going on right now. Why buy anywhere else?
Get your news first, fast, and free with your news leader on 6 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Local weather, sports, community calendar events, and a comprehensive look at the latest news stories and news makers as only a video news broadcast can do. Get it first, fast, and free with News Leader on Channel 6, your local information network.
Greetings, folks, and we've been talking today with Mr. Ray Knowis, who is a candidate for the Tullahoma Board of Mayor and Alderman, and he'd like to have your support. So, Ray, I want to thank you for coming and give you a minute to speak. You got anything you'd like to say direct to the folks?
Well, yes, Tom, and thank you for the opportunity to do that. My background has been in the aerospace business management, and we in Tullahoma pride ourselves in being an aerospace community. We have signs all over town proclaiming ourselves to be an aerospace center of excellence. Well, that's my background, aerospace business management. I think that our board could use some aerospace business management represented on that board. I am delighted that we now have a splash park in town, because I've been an advocate for that since I was the president of the Rotary Club 10 years ago. So I've been advocate for the splash park since its inception. As far as the other activities in the community, I sponsored the Tullahoma, our Rotary Club sponsored the disc golf course, and we have the big playground down at Fraser McEwen Park that I certainly had an opportunity in dedicating there. So I've been active in the community. My wife's active in the community. She's been a teacher in the Tullahoma school system for 18 years. We've been married for 49 years. And
with that, I want to thank you for taking time to be with us. And I want to thank you folks for inviting us into your parlor. And we'll see you next time.